Hey, welcome to Living in Provo, Utah. I'm Scott Walters with Best USA Realty. And on this channel, I talk about everything what it's like to live, eat, sleep, work, play, the good and bad of living in Provo, Utah, and really all of Utah County and Utah Valley. So although Provo and Utah Valley is commonly referred to as Happy Valley, it's not always sunshine and rainbows in Utah Valley. We definitely have our issues here. So today's video is going to be, I'm going to talk about 7 of the downsides about living in Provo, Utah, things that you need to know before you move here. So with that, let's talk about the 7 downsides to living in Provo, Utah. And before we get into that, I have people reach out to me all the time. I absolutely love it. So if you're thinking of moving to this area or you already live in this area, you need help with selling your house, I'd absolutely love to help you. So reach out to me. Give me a call, shoot me a text, send me an email, and I'd love to connect with you and help you and to make that smooth transition. So with that, let's talk about the 7 downsides of living in Provo, Utah. So downside number 1 are, well, basically it's the limited transportation options in Provo. When I'm talking about that, I'm talking about I-15. There's really only one freeway that runs through Utah Valley. It comes into Utah Valley on the south end there at Santaquin, and then it curves around to the east towards the mountains, kind of skirts around Utah Lake, and then ends up coming up and over the hill in Lehi and dropping down into Salt Lake Valley. And that is the only freeway that we have in Utah Valley. So with that, you're going to have to navigate the area when it gets congested. It's kind of a bottleneck, particularly I'm referring to if you're heading into Salt Lake. Like if you live in Utah Valley and you work up in Salt Lake Valley, then you're going to have issues with congestion, particularly in that Lehi area going up over the point of the mountain, dropping down into Salt Lake. So you're going to need to make some plans, because you could have some significant inconvenience if you live and work in those areas. So that's just one of the downsides. Obviously, for geographical reasons, that we really can't have an east-west freeway because you got a big lake right in the middle there. But there aren't a whole lot of other north-south options that help you get into Salt Lake Valley. They do have Redwood Road that's out there, kind of out by Eagle Mountain and Saratoga Springs. So that is an option, but it's not the greatest option, but it's just an additional option. So anyway, keep that in mind if you're moving to the Provo area or live in the Provo area. That is one of the issues that we deal with. Now, fortunately, in the last several years, we have the city or the state has improved the transportation issue as far as like buses, public buses, and public trains. So there is a tracks train line that runs from, I think, all the way from Ogden, all the way down to Provo, and I've heard there's plans to run even further down towards the Payson on the south end of Utah Valley. So there is at least that. You can catch the main track station in Provo and ride that all the way up to Salt Lake, and then of course bypass having to ride on the I-15. And of course they've got other lines all along the way that you can pick up the tracks train in, like American Fork area, in Vineyard area. So there's other areas where you can catch on to that. So anyway, that is my downside number 1, is just some transportation issues with only having the one freeway running through Utah Valley. Downside number 2, winter inversions. We deal with that in Utah Valley pretty much every year. I just want to read this. It's during the winter months, a temperature inversion can occur, trapping pollutants in the air and leading to poor air quality. And this can be especially problematic for those who have respiratory issues, and it can make it difficult to enjoy all the wonderful outdoor activities that we have here in the colder months. So that's just an issue we have. It just that inversion traps all the cold air and pollution and just traps it on the valley floor. If you want to, you can go up to higher elevations and get above it. In fact, there's some areas in some communities, probably up in Alpine, the highest elevations in Alpine, as well as Woodland Hills, that oftentimes get up above that inversion. You're not trapped down in it. But in the wintertime, there's been some times where we've had like a whole month where you can't even see the mountains. I remember the first time experiencing and understanding what a winter inversion was 1985. I was like 13 years old. And I remember I lived right at the base of Mount Timpanogos in Orem, Utah, and went on an entire month without being able to even see the mountain because the inversion was so bad and trapped in all those pollutants and clouds. Usually takes a big storm to come in and wipe that out and blow it out. So I remember another time driving all the way from Salem, Utah, all the way up to like West Jordan to take a loan application many years ago. I couldn't see any of the mountains in Provo or Salt Lake because the inversion had trapped everything in both valleys. So anyway, just know that you're going to deal with that. Generally in January is when that happens. I don't really remember experiencing it much more than in January, but unfortunately this January we haven't had it at all. So, but just understand that is something you'll deal with if you live in the Provo and Utah Valley areas, is a winter inversion. So my downside number 3 really has to do with Provo City itself. Provo City is, it's basically the oldest city in Utah County. And so with that, there's a lot of older neighborhoods, and it feels like it's really built out. There's a lot of areas in the downtown area where they're tearing down some of the old buildings and shops, and they're going vertical with brand new high-rise apartment buildings. So you're seeing some urban revitalization there. But when it comes to having lots of brand new subdivisions to choose from to live in Provo, it's very limited. There are a few areas more out west towards the lake where they are building some newer subdivisions, but when you're like in the heart of Provo, there's just not a whole lot of building. You might find an individual lot here or there. So if you're wanting a brand new home or a brand new subdivision, it's going to be more difficult in Provo. But if you're willing to go to some of the suburbs just a few minutes, like if you go south, Springville, Spanish Fork, you're looking 7 to 15 minutes away from Provo. There are a lot of brand new subdivisions in those areas, lots of options there. And if you want to go, 25, 35 minutes to the north, you can get out towards Lehigh, Eagle Mountain, Saratoga Springs, and there's a plethora of brand new construction subdivision in those areas, as well as in American Fork area. They do have new construction going on in Highland and Alpine, Cedar Hills. In those cities, those particular areas tend to be a little more expensive. You're going to be looking, on the low end, usually around $700,000-800,000 and on up for homes in there. But you can still go out to Saratoga Springs, Eagle Mountain. You'll find some very nice single-family homes in the $500,000 to $600,000 range. So, just my downside number 3. There's not a lot of new home construction right in Provo City itself. Next up on my list, this is item number 4. There's just very little nightlife in Provo. If you're looking for a place where you want to have a lot of parties, a lot of bars and things to go to in Provo, there just aren't a lot. You're going to pretty much be going on up to Salt Lake if you want to have a lot of different bars and nightlife to enjoy. The vast majority of residents that live in Utah Valley are members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Most of them do subscribe to the health code called the Word of Wisdom, where we voluntarily choose not to consume alcohol, tobacco, drugs, things of that nature. So because of that, the demand for nightlife and alcohol and things like that are very limited in Provo. So just understand that it's just those options are limited there. They have state liquor stores. That's where you're going to get all your wine or tequilas, things of that nature. In the grocery stores, the only thing you're really going to find would be beer. In fact, I remember when I moved to Arizona, I was shocked that there was like full-on liquor stores inside the grocery stores. That's just one thing you don't see in Utah. All the main liquors are sold through state liquor stores. So you can find those. And just be aware that's just something that comes with living in the Provo area. Hey guys, I'm just taking a quick break from my vacation in Maui and just checking in with you. Hey, if you're finding these videos helpful on what it's like living in Utah Valley, then make sure you like this video. Click on the subscription button and make sure you tap that notification bell so you can stay current every time I drop another video about what it's like living in Utah Valley in the Provo area. Downside number 5, Provo, Utah is about 48 minutes away from the Salt Lake International Airport. So if you commute a lot for your work, in that I mean you traveling, you're going all over the country or the world for your work, you're just going to have longer commute time to get to the airport. And so you're going to need to plan accordingly for that. Especially during those peak traffic hours, it can get very congested getting in and out of that airport. One of the nice things though is Provo does now have a regional airport, and you can catch quite a few flights to areas like the LA area, Las Vegas, Mesa. Sometimes I think they used to have a line that goes to Denver. I don't remember if they have that still. So there is that option, but if you're flying, internationally and all over the place, you're going to have to go up to Salt Lake Airport. Just plan and know that it's going to take you 48 minutes on a great day from Provo, all the way up to over an hour. So just plan accordingly that way. All right, my downside number 6 is there are very few coffee shops in Provo. I know most places you go around the world, across the country, you're going to find coffee shops everywhere, and that's just something a lot of people enjoy, to go work there, relax, meet up with friends. It's very limited there. It's also part of the Word of Wisdom that most members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints subscribe to, meaning that they don't partake of hot drinks, and that was interpreted to mean coffee. So because of that, there's just not a ton of coffee shops, but you can find a few Starbucks. I've seen a few a few Dunkin' Donuts around, as well as a few Dutch Bros. So you do have some coffee shops as well as a few independent shops, but you're not going to find one on every corner like you might if you're in downtown Seattle or even LA or something like that. So just be aware of that. That's just one of the downsides to the Provo area, not a ton of coffee shops. My final downside to Provo really applies to Utah as a whole. Utah is known as having bad or not very courteous drivers, ones that won't let you merge or they try to cut you off. That's just a reputation that Utah's had over the years, and frankly, I experienced that. I've lived here most of my life, but also lived in a place like Arizona, and it seemed like the drivers were more courteous, would let you merge and get in. Even a lot of times when I drive around the LA area, a lot of people let me merge, whereas in Utah, everyone feels like you're cutting you off, so they'll speed up and not let you in. So that's just kind of one of the bad raps that Utah has. And hopefully we're getting better at that, but just be aware that sometimes Utahns are not the most courteous when it comes to driving. All right, so what do you think? What do you think are some of the downsides to Provo? Maybe I missed something. Make a comment down below. Let me know what you think some of the downsides of living in Utah Valley are. I'd love to touch on those in a future video. Look, I really appreciate when you guys reach out to me. I have people reaching out to me all the time. I absolutely love it. So if you need help moving within Utah Valley or you're moving here from somewhere else, I'd absolutely love to help you. So reach out to me. Give me a call, shoot me a text, send me an email, and we'll get together and I'll help you make a smooth transition to this area. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tap on the notification bell so you can stay current every time I drop another video about what it's like living in Provo, Utah, and Utah as a whole. So with that, I will catch you on the next video.